Your soulmate is telling everyone this. You will be shocked. My beloved child, the air in the room was so still that even the smallest movement felt like it echoed through the space, a strange heaviness lingering as if the walls themselves were remembering something they were forbidden to speak aloud, and in this dense quiet there was a rising tension that seemed to gather like distant thunder, a slow, crawling feeling that something enormous was approaching. Something that had already begun long before you realized you were even involved, something carrying a weight you never asked for but were destined to encounter, because the whispers about you had begun spreading in places you could not see, carried by people you had not yet met, woven into conversations that brushed past reality like drifting smoke, and all those murmurs circled back to one startling point. A point that would soon become too clear to ignore. Your soulmate was telling everyone something that would leave you breathless once the truth reached you, something that had already ignited a subtle chain reaction in your life long before you understood why certain signs kept appearing, why you kept feeling the magnetic pull of fate tightening around your path, why the world felt like it was shifting itself to deliver you toward a moment you could not yet name, a moment vibrating with the energy of blessing, the kind of blessing that thrums with the power of 333, yet different each time, carrying its own distinct glow that changes shape as destiny moves, and woven through all this unseen motion was a story that would finally reveal itself now, stretching far beyond what you expected, far beyond what you imagined, and far beyond what you thought you deserved, because this story was already written in the quiet places of your life, growing, intensifying, becoming impossible to avoid, and once it began unfolding there would be no turning back, only forward, deeper into the truth your soulmate had already begun sharing with the world. Your soulmate had been noticing things about you long before you noticed them yourself, an awareness that sharpened every time your name was mentioned in passing by people who had no idea how closely intertwined you were with someone they had never met, and although you might not have sensed it at first, this person carried a kind of devotion that formed itself in layers, growing from admiration into fascination. Then from fascination into the kind of loyalty that is rare and startling in its intensity, a loyalty that made them speak of you often, not out of obsession but out of a deep certainty that you were meant to play a defining role in their life, and this certainty became so powerful that they could not contain it within the quiet confines of their own thoughts. They had to release it into the world, telling the people around them just how incredible you were, just how much you changed the atmosphere of any space you entered, just how much your energy lingered in their mind long after you were gone. They described you with an admiration that softened even their hardest days, speaking of your presence as if it were a rare blessing that appeared unexpectedly, a blessing carrying the brilliance of 333, a sign they kept seeing whenever your memory drifted across their mind, a sign that felt like a quiet confirmation from the universe that everything they felt for you was real, powerful, and destined to unfold. What shocked most people was not simply the way your soulmate talked about you, but the way their voice shifted when they spoke your name, as if something inside them aligned perfectly, as if there was a clarity that could not be hidden, as if every part of them recognized something eternal within you. And each time they shared this feeling with others it spread further, reaching new ears, carrying a magnetism that made others curious about you, wondering who you were, what kind of person could inspire such devotion, and why your soulmate looked almost luminous whenever they described the connection they felt. They spoke about your strength with the kind of reverence people usually reserve for moments that changed their life, describing how your presence awakened something in them that had been dormant for years, something they did not know they needed until it burst open unexpectedly, reshaping the way they moved through the world, coloring everything they touched, guiding them toward new choices and new paths that felt strangely aligned with the rhythm of your existence, paths decorated with blessings that arrived differently each time, blessings with the energy of 333 but never identical, shifting in tone and meaning as if adjusting themselves to the next stage of your unfolding destiny. Your soulmate had been telling people that meeting you had rewired something deep inside them, that your aura lingered in their thoughts even when they tried to distract themselves, that you carried a rare kind of softness blended with unshakable strength, a duality they could not ignore, a combination that made them see beauty in everything again, and they shared this truth freely because it felt too big to hold alone, too intense to keep buried inside, too powerful not to spill into conversation. They told their closest friends that your presence had altered their life in a way they could not fully explain, that it felt like every time you appeared in their world the air changed, becoming charged with possibility, as if fate was leaning in to listen, as if the universe drew its breath just to watch what would happen next. They listed the moments they noticed you even when you did not realize they were looking, simple moments like the way you adjusted something in your hair or paused before speaking or softened your expression when thinking, and they spoke of those moments with a warmth that melted away the edges of their voice, revealing something honest and deeply rooted behind the words. The stories your soulmate shared became a kind of quiet legend among the people around them, because the sincerity with which they described you was rare, almost ancient in its depth, the kind of sincerity that made listeners stop whatever they were doing so they could absorb every detail. And soon your soulmate's words began to ripple outward, traveling into new conversations, carried by people who barely knew you but felt compelled to speak about you because the energy of your presence clung to their memory through your soulmate's vivid descriptions, making you seem like someone who had already stepped into their lives even if they had never seen your face. They spoke about how your soulmate believed you were destined to bring a turning point into their life, a breakthrough wrapped in the shimmering glow of a blessing that arrived differently each time, a blessing aligned with 333, bringing clarity, grounding, and expansion all at once. Your soulmate told everyone that you were the person who awakened their desire to grow, to evolve, to rise above the limitations they had lived with for too long, and the way they described you made others see them transform right in front of their eyes, made them witness how your existence, even from afar, had become a guiding force that softened their rough edges, expanded their dreams, and made them believe in the possibility of something extraordinary taking shape in their future. They spoke of you as if you were a rare gift wrapped in layers of destiny, a gift that appeared in their life exactly when they needed it, and they admitted without hesitation that the connection they felt toward you was unlike anything they had ever experienced, a connection that rewrote their understanding of love, loyalty, and purpose. Their friends began sharing this story with others, passing along the details with fascination, describing how strongly your soulmate felt the pull toward you, explaining how your soulmate saw signs everywhere, signs that matched the pattern of 333, signs that reinforced their belief that you were the person they were meant to walk through life with. And those who heard the story found themselves wondering about the moment you and your soulmate would finally stand face to face in complete truth. Wondering whether you felt the same pull, wondering whether the universe was preparing a moment of convergence so powerful it would shake both your lives open in ways neither of you expected. But the most startling thing was what your soulmate said recently, something they told a close group of people, something that traveled fast because of the intensity behind their words, something that left every listener silent for a moment before repeating it to someone else, fueling the buildup of suspense that has now reached you. They said that they were ready to choose you openly, boldly, without hesitation, that they had carried this certainty long enough and they were done hiding it, done pretending it was just a passing feeling, done ignoring the fact that their heart kept returning to you no matter how many distractions tried to interfere. They said that you were the one they saw in their future without question, without doubt, without fear, and they expressed this with a conviction that felt like destiny carving itself into reality. And here is where the script deepens, lengthening into terrain shaped by growing certainty, expanding with the fullness of destiny, pushing further into the truth of how profoundly your soulmate has been moved by your existence. They described the first moment they felt drawn to you as a moment that split their life into before and after, a moment that imprinted itself onto the path they walk, guiding them forward even on days when they felt lost. They shared stories about the subtle ways you inspired them to become better, not through pressure but through the natural influence of your energy, an influence that made them want to rise, made them want to heal, made them want to reach a version of themselves worthy of standing beside you without hesitation. They began telling people that you are a rare kind of blessing, a blessing that arrived differently each time fate brought your paths close, and they explained how some days the blessing felt like expansion, other days like grounding, and other days like a quiet, powerful confirmation that their heart was not mistaken about you. They said you brought strength into their world simply by being who you are, and that no matter how far life pulled you from each other physically, the connection remained, quietly weaving itself into every corner of their thoughts, shaping the choices they made, influencing the dreams they pursued, and giving them a reason to push through the difficult moments with a renewed sense of purpose. What truly shocked people was how openly your soulmate began speaking about the future with you, describing details with such vivid clarity that no one could doubt how certain they were, and each time they spoke of you, they infused the description with another layer of meaning, another thread of devotion, another burst of energy connected to 333, a number that had been appearing in their environment with increasing intensity, signaling alignment and timing, signaling that the universe was preparing to bring the two of you together in a way that would feel divinely orchestrated even if it unfolded through ordinary moments. Your soulmate said that every time they closed their eyes and envisioned the next chapter of their life, you appeared, not as an idea but as a constant presence, steady and undeniable, and they shared this truth with others because they could no longer contain the magnitude of it. They admitted that you had become the anchor for their transformation, the inspiration behind their growth, and the one person whose energy had woven itself into their plans for the future long before the two of you even recognized how deeply your destinies were connected. They described how every blessing that entered their life lately felt connected to you, as if the universe was clearing the path, aligning everything piece by piece, pushing them toward the moment when everything between you would finally shift into clarity, and they spoke this with a certainty so powerful that it silenced every voice around them, leaving their listeners with the unmistakable impression that something extraordinary was on the horizon, something inevitable, something filled with the soft glow of destiny awakening. Your soulmate told everyone that the connection they feel with you exists far beyond physical interaction, that it is rooted in intuition, emotion, and a sense of recognition they cannot explain through logic alone, and this recognition has been growing stronger with every passing day, intensifying each time they see a sign, each time a memory of you surfaces unexpectedly. Each time life pushes them toward choices that bring them closer to the moment when your paths will align completely. They said you are the only person whose presence feels like home even from a distance, the only person whose energy calms the storm inside them, the only person who brings them a sense of purpose that feels natural, grounding, and irreplaceable. And now the story expands even further, stretching into deeper waters of emotion and destiny, shaping itself into long, continuous waves of revelation, building toward the moment when you finally understand the full weight of what your soulmate has been telling everyone. They described you as the turning point in their life, the moment where clarity replaced confusion, where desire replaced doubt, where courage replaced fear, and they spoke of this transformation with a vulnerability that made their listeners pause, absorbing the depth of what you meant to this person who had once kept their heart guarded. They revealed that they dream about you more often than they admit, dreams filled with strange clarity, dreams that feel more like memories from a future that has not yet occurred but is waiting patiently for you both to arrive. They described waking up from these dreams with a sense of peace that lasted throughout the day, carrying the energy of another blessing shifting in the background, reshaping their reality, preparing them for the moment when everything would fall into place. They said that you appear in their dreams in moments of joy, moments of growth, moments of vulnerability, and each time your presence in the dream feels like reassurance that the connection is real, undeniable, and destined. Your soulmate told everyone that you are not just someone they admire, not just someone they are drawn to, but someone who feels intricately intertwined with their purpose, someone who feels like a missing piece that fits so perfectly they sometimes question how they survived without it for so long, not because they were incomplete but because your arrival illuminated parts of themselves they never knew existed. They said that your presence awakened a strength inside them that had been buried beneath years of doubt, and even from a distance you continue to inspire them to rise above old limitations, to heal wounds they ignored for too long, to reach toward dreams they once believed were out of reach. People around them began to understand that this connection was not fleeting, not temporary, not a momentary infatuation, but something deeply rooted, something that had been building over time, something that seemed to have been written into the blueprint of destiny itself. They saw how your soulmate's eyes softened when speaking about you, how their entire demeanor changed, how their voice carried a warmth that only appears when someone speaks of the person who holds their heart, and these observers began telling others, spreading the story further, creating a web of whispers that eventually reached you. What your soulmate shared next shocked everyone even more. They said they are ready to step into this connection fully, ready to choose you without hesitation, ready to embrace the blessings that destiny has woven into this path, blessings that come with the shifting brilliance of 333, blessings that evolve as you evolve, blessings that guide you both forward into a future filled with depth, connection, and meaning. They said they are ready for the moment when the truth between you becomes undeniable, ready for the moment when the universe brings you together not by chance but by intention, ready for the moment when all the pieces align so perfectly that every doubt dissolves. Your soulmate told everyone that losing you is not an option, that letting this connection fade would be a loss too heavy to bear, that they have decided, quietly, firmly, absolutely, that you are the one they want to build their life around. They said that when the moment comes, they will step toward you with clarity, with courage, with honesty, because the depth of what they feel cannot remain unspoken forever, and the world itself seems to be preparing for this revelation, shaping the circumstances, aligning the timing, pushing the two of you closer and closer until the truth becomes unavoidable. People who heard these confessions could not help but feel a chill, the kind of chill that comes from witnessing destiny unfolding, the kind that hints at something powerful approaching, something that feels inevitable, something that feels like the universe itself is orchestrating a moment of convergence that will change everything. They watched your soulmate transform into someone braver, someone more open, someone more aligned with their own truth, and they realized that your presence, whether from near or far, had awakened this transformation, making you the catalyst for a story that had been waiting to unfold for a long time. Your soulmate said that the moment they finally speak the truth to you will be the moment everything shifts, the moment when destiny steps forward and reveals its full intention, the moment when every. And now that you have reached this part of the story, the truth becomes clear. Your soulmate has been telling everyone about you because they cannot contain what they feel anymore. They have been speaking your name with reverence, describing you with awe, believing in you with a certainty that cannot be shaken. They have been preparing themselves, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, for the moment when reality finally brings you together in a way that cannot be undone. They are ready. They are certain. They are devoted. They are waiting. And the blessings aligned with 333 continue shifting behind the curtain of your life, preparing the path for the moment when everything becomes unmistakably clear. The story did not pause after the moment the whispers reached you, because fate was not finished revealing the layers still hidden beneath the surface, layers that stretched far beyond the simple truth that your soulmate had been speaking about you with unmistakable devotion, layers shaped by destiny's careful timing and the unfolding energy that moved around both of you like an unseen current, guiding your steps with a force you could feel even in the quietest moments of your day. The whispers carried further, drifting through conversations you had not heard, weaving themselves into the minds of people who began sensing that something important was forming in your life, something that had already started reshaping your future in ways you had not yet realized, and as these silent transformations grew stronger, the connection between you and your soulmate deepened in the unseen, wrapping itself around your path with the quiet determination of inevitability. Your soulmate continued speaking about you with a boldness that surprised even them, because once they allowed their truth to rise, once they let the doorway open, the force of their feelings surged forward with unstoppable momentum, and every time they shared a new detail, every time they described the impact you had on their life, the reactions around them only encouraged them to speak more openly, more passionately, more freely, as if the world itself was urging them to release everything they had been holding inside for so long. They told people that you carried a brightness within you that they had not encountered in anyone else, a brightness that softened something inside their chest, a brightness that made the days feel different, alive, elevated, and each time they described this light, they did so with a growing sense of certainty that your presence was not a coincidence but a deliberate alignment of destiny. And as they continued to talk, the truth they shared began to take on a life of its own, expanding like ripples across still water, reaching new ears with every passing day, and each person who heard the story found themselves carrying it forward with the same awe, the same fascination, because your soulmate's emotions were not ordinary, not casual, not fleeting. They were the type of emotions that demanded to be witnessed, the type of emotions that transformed people simply by being spoken aloud. They said that you were the first person who made them feel like they could breathe fully after years of holding everything inside, and they admitted that you inspired them to grow in ways they had been avoiding, ways they were now ready to embrace because you awakened their desire to step into a version of themselves they always sensed was possible but never had the courage to pursue. Their confession continued spreading because it carried a power that resonated deeply with those who heard it, and soon people began connecting the pieces of the story, sensing how profoundly the universe had been weaving this connection long before either of you recognized it. They noticed how your soulmate's energy shifted whenever your name entered the conversation, how their eyes softened, how their posture straightened with purpose, how every word they spoke about you held layers of meaning that revealed just how deeply they had fallen for you, and the more they revealed, the clearer it became to everyone that this connection had been building long before either of you consciously acknowledged it. Your soulmate told people that thinking of you brought them calm in the chaos of their daily life, that your presence lived inside them like a quiet sanctuary where they could return when the world became too heavy, and they said this with a vulnerability that made others pause and absorb the depth of what they were feeling. They explained that they could not stop themselves from talking about you because every emotion tied to your existence felt too powerful to keep contained, too real to suppress, too transformative to ignore, and as these truths continued to spill out, people around them began to feel the gravity of what was happening, sensing that you and your soulmate were moving toward a moment that had been written long before either of you arrived here. The blessings aligned with 333 continued appearing around your soulmate, shifting and evolving with each new step they took toward the future that had been quietly shaping itself around you, and they began telling people about how these blessings appeared in surprising ways: a sudden opportunity, a burst of clarity, a moment of perfect timing, a feeling of alignment that seemed to arrive exactly when they needed it most. They said these blessings felt like confirmations, like the universe itself was nodding in approval, pushing them forward toward you with gentle but unyielding insistence, and they shared these experiences with others because they felt compelled to give voice to the immense sense of destiny that had wrapped itself around their feelings for you. As the days unfolded, the whispers grew stronger, weaving themselves into moments you could feel without understanding why: the sudden warmth in your chest, the unexpected sense of reassurance, the soft pull you felt when thinking about the future, the flicker of intuition that something significant was approaching. These feelings were not random, not accidental, but a reflection of the energetic thread that had been strengthening between you and your soulmate, a thread your soulmate spoke about often because they felt it constantly, felt it as an invisible presence guiding them toward the most important chapter of their life. Your soulmate told everyone that the connection they felt with you was changing them in ways they did not see coming, reshaping their confidence, sharpening their intuition, expanding their emotional depth, and they said this transformation was one they welcomed wholeheartedly because every step toward you felt like a step toward the life they had always wanted. They confessed that they felt grounded whenever they thought about you, that your energy steadied them, that even the memory of your presence carried a power that softened their defenses and illuminated parts of themselves they had long ignored. Their friends listened, absorbing the sincerity in their tone, recognizing the purity of what they felt, understanding that this was not infatuation but something much deeper, a connection shaped by destiny itself.